When Aaron came to us, he was suffering with fibromyalgia, deep depression and anxiety caused by the stress of his housing situation. Aaron was being harassed by his neighbor daily, and on one occasion he attacked Aaron whilst high on drugs. Aaron reported all the serious incidents to the police, the housing association and the local MP. Shockingly, the police and housing association were indifferent to his plight, and the MP's appeals on his behalf were ignored. So Aaron fled his home in deep despair. Thankfully, Aaron had a few good friends that let him sleep on their sofa. Aaron was extremely grateful, but now his mental and physical health were deteriorating fast. Whenever Aaron tried to return to his flat, even for a few minutes, his neighbor would immediately start to harass and intimidate him, and so, for a period of 2 years, Aaron began moving from friend to friend, sleeping on their sofas. His mental health eventually collapsed. His physical health followed soon thereafter. To make matters worse, when the local authority found out that Aaron was not in the property, they stopped his housing and council tax benefits. And so Aaron began to incur thousands of pounds of rent arrears on the property he had been driven out of. Aaron was referred to Grace Advocacy by a concerned friend, and an urgent meeting was set up. The Grace Advocacy team gathered all the information they could, including email exchanges and other documentation. Grace Advocacy contacted social services for help, as Aaron was a vulnerable adult in need. Despite the urgency of the situation, each of the social workers appointed showed little or no interest, taking weeks to send a reply. Grace Advocacy also escalated their concerns to the head of the Housing Association in writing, explaining what had happened and what Aaron's rights were. Despite Grace Advocacy's attempts, Aaron's situation was still being ignored and not taken seriously. The charity then turned to legal specialists for advice, who confirmed that the Housing Association had indeed failed in their duties as a social landlord. Armed with this advice, Grace Advocacy approached the housing provider again and warned them that legal action would follow if steps were not taken to remedy Aaron's situation promptly. Suddenly, the housing provider reversed its position and offered Aaron the choice of 2 properties to live in. Aaron was happy to accept a lovely flat and was relieved that the housing provider also agreed to write off all his rent arrears, as well as pay for all his moving costs. The local authority also agreed to clear Aaron's council tax debt through a once-off discretionary payment. Although this was a complex case, like so many Grace Advocacy deals with, a positive outcome was finally achieved. The team of volunteer advocates gave Aaron a voice and never gave up fighting for justice. Aaron's mental health has already dramatically improved, and he finally has a safe place that he can call home. Aaron was homeless for 2 years before approaching Grace Advocacy for help. It took the team just 5 months to resolve his situation in the middle of a lockdown that was paralyzing many services. This is just one example of the effectiveness of the intensive hands-on approach Grace Advocacy employs. If you would like to join or support our work, please get in touch.